Well, gentlemen, here we go.
Okay?
Yep.
Right. So initial start up, make sure the machine's on the wall.
Yep.
And plugged in. Main isolator on the front of the control panel.
Yep.
That switches on the power to the machine.
Right.
That's your temperature control panel, which you switch on. That switch has to be at number 1.
Yep.
Push button switches, the barrel heats on.
Yep.
The heats will start coming up to temperature. When the relay is being pulled in, giving power to the heater band, you get a little dot in the corner.
Right.
When the dot goes off, it means the relay's switched off. It will heat up towards its set point, and then as it gets closer, it'll drop in and out, so it reaches its set point gently rather than overshooting.
So is it the same temperature regardless of material? Or do you alter
You'll need to alter the temperature.
This is up and down, is it these arrows here?
Yeah, you'll need to adjust the temperature depending on what polymer that you're using. Obviously, manufacturer's recommendations.
Yeah.
To change the set point, you go to the zone that you want to change, hold the symbol for the thermometer, and, and that is the set point.
Yeah.
You use the up and down arrow keys
to
change your set point, and then just let go.
Yeah. Okay.
And then that will revert back to the actual value.
Is it sort of standard? What for polyprop would standard be about 200 then?
It's about that, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah.
Depends on the variety and
the melt flow and that sort of thing.
This particular one is polypropylene with a little bit of HDPE in because it makes it more stable. But you don't want to process it above about 250.
Yeah.
Start decomposing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yep. Main motor and hydraulic power is controlled from here. Simple on and off button. On initial start up, normally you want to run the oil temperature at about 40 degrees. Right. To switch the oil warming system on, you've got this switch here, SO5T, and you switch that on. It forces the oil through a restrictor, which heats the oil up through friction. And that just turns it off.
Okay.
I'll simply I'll go to the oil gauge just to make sure everybody knows where that is.
Okay, we'll turn that off while we're going through everything. All the positions on the machine are controlled via sliding cams. You've got nozzle control is this top section. This side is refill of material and injection. And then this plate here is for the operation of the clamp itself. So,
can we go through what these are?
Yep, I'll just grab an Allen key. This bottom slide here you don't use, so the only ones you need to concentrate on this section are the 3 cams at the top. The top one gives you your opening position, so as the tool opens, it'll get to that cam and stop. The bottom one of the 3 is the clamping position, so when the 2 faces of the tool comes together, that's where that cam needs to be set, which will bring on the clamping pressure. I'll show you how to set that up. With the motor on, if you're changing the tool, if you release these 2 cams, slide them fully out of the way, and then operate the mould close button, the tool will close so the plates are touching. And what you do is you slide the cam up until this green LED B20W comes on. So the lights come on now to show that it's measured the closed position. You lock that cam in position, and then what will happen when you close it, the clamping pressure will come on. The middle cam is your mould safety position, which we use for stopping any parts getting crushed if they've got stuck in the mould. Normally, we set that up so that when the tool closes, the dowels are just coming into contact, so that should anything get trapped in there or anything get in the dowel hole as it closes, it'll stop. It'll just, the pressure won't build up and it won't damage anything. So just slide this. You can see through the slots. You can see the proximity switches. So you just slide the cam up so that it makes on the proximity switch underneath.
Right.
And so when you open and close the mould again, as it reaches that cam, you can see it slow down, which is controlled by these switches on here, which we'll go through in a moment. Once the clamp is set, you can then set your nozzle forward position. So again, these are your nozzle cams. B40W is your nozzle forward position. So we adjust that out of the way so that it doesn't bring the pressure on too early. Bring the nozzle up into contact with the tool, and then again you slide the cam along until the LED comes on the Y40 S40 switch. And the pump will know to say it's bringing the pressure on. Turn the motor off now, we can go through the rest of the cams. B41W is the nozzle back position.
Right.
Now you've got two options. You can either run the machine in cycle with the nozzle constantly against the tool, or you can have it so that the nozzle retracts. That cam controls how far back the nozzle moves away from the tool. To switch that on and off is the S40P switch. So that toggles between nozzle in contact or nozzle retraction. Okay. Cams on here. You've got 4 cams to control injection and refill of material. B53W is what we call the plasticizing position. So as it screws back and draws material into the barrel, that gives you your volume of material in the end of the barrel.
Right.
Okay. B51W we call decompression, which is basically once it reaches that screw back position and volume, that then will suck the screw back however far you set, basically to help stop any drool coming out of the end of the nozzle, or when you do that it closes off the check valve, the check ring on the end of the screw tip, so to stop any material leaking back.
Sorry, we'll go back to 53. Does that affect your shot size?
Yeah, that is what you shot.
Right,
that will give you your shot size.
So we weren't earlier when we moulded, we weren't quite on maximum shot size. We were a little bit off.
I think, yeah, a little bit off because it wasn't quite filling the part.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah.
B51W, you can run the machine with it or without it. Again, you've got a selection switch. S51P.
Yeah.
You find that the numbers all follow through. So if you're working on decompression, so you've got 51P and then 51W, so W being a position.
Yeah.
It's the same, follows all the way through on all the options. The other cam that we've got is B54W, which is your holding pressure. So after you've injected your material in and filled the part, that there gives you your position at which you start to pack the cushion to take any sinking out of the mouldings, anything like that.
Okay.
The last one, which is an optional thing, is B502W, which is second stage injection.
Right. So if you're over moulding or...
Or if you've got a technical part that needs to flow gently in first and then you want to fill it in, you can use a first stage injection, which is labelled as S50D there for pressure, and then S502D, which is another pressure. Right. So what would happen is that between B53W and B54W, that's where that would come in.
Okay.
Because obviously that's your shot size, and it's going to inject down to reach holding pressure. So if you want the second stage to work, it needs to be in between the two.
Yeah. But that'd have to be the same material, or could it?
No, it'd be the same material because you've only got the one injection unit. So it just gives you a pressure profile should you require it. Okay. Now the holding pressure, you can also run with or without that. So you can literally, if you want to, just mould the part using the first stage of injection. Or if you set the cam, you'll get the second stage, and then if you switch S54PW on, that'll let you use holding pressure. Okay. So going back to the control panel, you've got 3 sections for your process setting. The top row controls speed.
Right.
The second row controls pressure.
Right.
And then these 2 rows here are the times.
Right.
Okay. Now, as I said, the numbers all correspond and follow through to whichever function you've got. So, following along, you've got ejector first, so ejector speed, mould close, mould safety, mould open, and then you've got your second injection stage, first injection stage, and the last one is the screw rotation speed. So when you're charging your shot, that's how fast the screw is going to rotate.
Right.
The second row is pressure, so again, ejector, you notice S60, S60, so they match.
Yep.
The same with the same with injection, the numbers all correspond. Now, the only differences on here is you haven't got a mould close pressure. When it's moving, it's a preset value, but you've got a clamping pressure. So that when the face comes together and locks into place, that's how much force you're putting on the 2 plattens. Mould safety pressure, which again goes back to that second cam. Obviously you want to keep that as low as possible, because what will happen is, as the tool closes, it goes into mould safety, the pressure will start to build up because of the resistance. If it builds up above that setting, it'll stop the tool closing.
Right. Yep.
That pressure is your nozzle contact pressure, so the nozzle against the tool. Obviously you don't want that too low, because if you've got a high injection pressure, you're going to inject, it could force the nozzle back away from the platen, give you a material leak over the heater bands. S54D is your holding pressure, and then you've got your 2-stage injection pressures. If we go on to the times, this first time here is your maximum cycle time allowed.
Right.
So if for some reason, say, the material runs out and you've walked away, you don't want to let the screw sit there for too long. So once you've got the machine running, you can time the cycle and set that a little bit above, just to give you a bit of leeway.
So that'd be the number of cycles that it does.
No, that's an actual time. That is. So for 1
minutes.
cycle, that's 30 seconds.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That
So
is.
it's a
There's a decimal
points.
point. There's decimal points across
Okay, yep.
the bottom, which shows
Yep.
where it is. Now this here is what we call the cooling time. So obviously after it's screwed back, it's just sitting in the mould waiting to cure. So the tool will open after that time's elapsed. So obviously at the moment, as a test cycle, we've got it on 4 seconds. It's 4.0.
Yep.
S10Z is the delay time for mould closing. So after the part has been, once the tool opens, it will wait for that amount of time before closing again.
Right.
That's the time in which the ejector will operate and push your part off. S60Z is your ejector time. That is set in conjunction with the delay time to give you the length of stroke of the ejector and how many strokes you get of the ejector. So the smaller that amount of time, the shorter the ejector stroke's going to be, and then it breaks down into that time there to give you however many strokes in that delay time. S54Z is your holding pressure time. So obviously once it's injected, it'll pack the part out for that amount of time. If you've not switched holding pressure on, the injection will wait for that time.
Right.
So it'll still work on injection as well. And the last 2, they're very rarely altered. Basically the first one is your nozzle contact time, and the second one is your clamp close time. So clamp force generation. It will sit there, build up the time for the clamp, and then it'll let the next function go.
Yeah. So just going back to the cycle time one again.
Yeah.
So that's 30 seconds for each cycle.
Yeah.
Will it just the thing is, will it continue to keep moulding until the
It'll-
material's out? And how do you then set
it'll just keep it'll keep moulding and
Yeah.
keep moulding. So say once you've got it set, say your cycle is 20 seconds long,
Yeah.
and then the next cycle will start. It'll just keep going and keep going until you either run out of material or you stop it.
Right.
The only time that will trip out is if it doesn't, say, get to holding pressure or something in the cycle doesn't
Yeah.
go right. So, for example, if the material runs out, what will happen is it'll start to screw back,
Yeah.
and it won't reach the cam to say it's screwed back.
Right.
So the cycle time will elapse, the cooling time will elapse first, and it will just keep turning the screw until it counts to that time, and then it'll cut out.
Right. Yeah.
It might make a bit more sense in saying that is operational when it's in automatic mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's in that, if it's in that mode, it just makes one part.
Right.
When it's in that one, it's going, it's
Okay.
cycling.
Yeah.
That is the difference,
And this
isn't
is
it?
just complete manual set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you're
Yeah.
fiddling around with it. That is just a one cycle to make one moulding.
Once it's ejected, it'll wait for you. If you wait too long to restart the cycle, it will still trip out on the cycle time.
Manual, one cycle, automatic, multiple cycles. Okay. What's this one?
Cycle stop. So
Right,
if when the motor's on, when it's in manual mode, you can still operate it. You turn it to cycle stop, can't move anything. Okay. Now the thing to say about the keys, they're all the manual keys. Again, all the numbers match up. So it starts from there. The switch number itself is in small writing there. So for injection, for example, it's S50. So you, as you say, you follow it through. S50 is the switch, which is S50D, S50G. All those numbers follow through. So you can, when you press that button, it tells you really what lights to be looking out for on there. The LED on the switch isn't connected to the switch.
Right.
Although it looks like it should be, it's not. The LEDs on there are the signals from the control circuit to tell the valve to operate.
Yeah.
So those lights won't come on unless the machine is safe to let it do so. So if you're pressing injection and you think it should be injecting but that light's not coming on, there's something not letting it, which could be, say, the nozzle guard, for example, is not shut correctly. And that works the same for all the manual keys on there.
The difference is when it's in automatic, the lights will come on through their own sequence automatically.
Right. Yeah.
So it'll start flashing at me. Have I got, is my memory correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's pretty much all the control on there. The only other things you've got to worry about is you've got a manual pressure relief valve there. Now, what that does is control your back pressure. So as the screws screwing back and filling the shot, if you want to get a more consistent shot, or you're mixing a colour and a virgin material, or mixing up recycled materials and things like that, you put more back pressure on, it'll help compress the material, push any air pockets out, or anything like that. Okay. Pressure gauge you can use for indication. We've got 3 positions on there that are connected. Position 4, that will show you what your injection pressure is, so when it's injecting, how high the injection pressure is going. When it's screwing back, it will also measure the back pressure.
Okay.
Okay. If you turn it to position 5, that is the pressure that the pump is running at.
Right.
So you can monitor it through the cycle, you can see what the pump's getting up to. And the last one that we use on this machine is position 1, which will give you your clamp pressure.
Right.
So you can see that when the tool face comes together, it'll go up.
Right. Yeah.
Now, because obviously clamp pressure is the highest pressure on the machine, it does reach over 200 bar.
Yeah.
So obviously it is into the red on the gauge, so don't recommend you ever leave it on position 1. Look at it for monitoring and checking, and then turn it back to 0.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that the pressure gauge doesn't wear out.
Yeah.
Because it can, if it continually builds up that high pressure, it'll make it leak eventually.
On the back pressure gauge, if you put it maximum number, is that likely to go over 200?
No. The back pressure should only ever get to about 50. Depending on the valve setting,
So
back
it's-
pressure normally doesn't go above 50. Sometimes you do get onto dead drift over a mechanical valve, but
And that one's off at the moment, isn't it? So
yeah. That generally gives you everything that you've got. The little timer that's on this panel here, you've not got this option fitted, so that's not relevant for what
Right,
this
okay.
machine's doing.
Yep.
It's to do with an air blast valve. Which, should you ever need one, we can fit one on and
Yeah.
wind back up. But other than that,
Okay.
that's it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you.